Hi, this is Robert Kiyosaki, and you're listening to Capital Hacking. This is the most important thing you can listen to today.
Here's the one.
I have a dream.
With great power comes great responsibility.
I could do this all day.
This is it. Don't get scared now.
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom.
Cinderella story out of nowhere.
It's in the hole. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Capital Hacking begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Capital Hacking. My name is John Edwin. My co-host today, Alex Felice, aka Alexander the Great, the world famous photographer, videographer, one of the best guys you can ever come across.
What's up, buddy? Hey, this was fun. We had a good show today. Got to hang out with Aaron. Good to hang out with you.
Yeah.
Good to learn something.
Yeah.
This guy does a lot. He's grounded. He's adventurous. Cares about family. I mean, it was a good time.
Yeah, Aaron Osgood is one of the best humans you can meet, and such a family man, such a great businessman, great grounded human being, and it's cool. You're going to learn about some bucket list stuff. Stay to the end because that was at the very end. Those last few minutes was gold.
Yeah, I love bucket lists, and he had a good take on it. So yeah, let's get to it.
Let's go. Hey guys, we have Aaron Osgood here. Super excited to interview you, Aaron. And I got an awesome co-host today. Josh, you're always awesome. Don't get mad at me, Josh. But Josh is traveling, so Alex Felice, aka Alexander the Great. How you doing today?
I'm great. Happy to be here. I met Aaron last week briefly. He's I don't know how tall he is, but everybody's tall to me, and then there's Aaron. In another level, I'm trying to take pictures of this guy, and I'm like, I really can't even. I can't. I'm shooting up every time. It was an interesting experience, but I didn't get to know him that well, so I'm really excited to get to know him better today. And so, Aaron, welcome, and tell us a little about yourself.
Yeah, thank you, guys. It was great seeing you both at the Go Abundance retreat about a week ago or so. And Alex, don't worry. Next time, I'll make sure we have some chairs around so you can take some better pictures so you can get up there. But to answer the question, I'm sitting down here. I am 6'8". At one point, I may have been 6'9", but now I'm answering 6'8". But yeah, I'm a real estate entrepreneur, girl dad, devoted husband, trying to build some great businesses centered around real estate investments while having some fun along the way. And I live in the Philadelphia area and suburbs. We work in Philly, we invest in the region. But grew up in Seattle with the mountain vibe. And so I love to figure out ways to get out and ski. And, a lot of my family is still out there as well. So I'm always trying to, put some of the passions in with a lot of the work.
Man, so let's just dive into, we're going to take a little left turn real quick, Aaron. So Aaron played ball for Cornell, right?
Yes.
And because you mentioned girl dad, so now I'm thinking Kobe Bryant. I know he was older than you. Who were some of the famous ball players that you played with and against?
Yeah, I mean, so many. I mean, growing up in Seattle, the Sonics are gone now, but when I was growing up, they were still there. And I was lucky enough to get involved with one of the trainers, and we'd go to this JCC and scrimmage and whatnot. And so back then it was like Jamal Crawford, who was a big Seattle guy. Nick Collison would come out. Robert Swift, who I think was like the number 1 or number 2 draft pick. I remember going 1-on-1 against him a lot. And I was still kind of scrawny, but I was even scrawnier back then. So a lot of great guys from Seattle. And then, Cornell, we got to play all over the place. We got to play at Duke and, Fog Allen and Indiana. So all these really great arenas. So it's been fun. Basketball is a big part of my life for so long. It's been fun playing these great arenas, playing against these superstars, and just, having some fun along the way too.
That is so exciting.
Trying not to get dunked on, that's the big goal.
So when you went from basketball, you talked about getting into some real estate, and then I think you were talking about some private equity stuff and some fundraising. what did you do immediately after college, and then what got you into becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so right after college, I really had no idea what I wanted to do for my career. I knew I liked real estate, and I knew that was a good avenue. But right after college, I played basketball overseas. I played in Denmark, and I went with my college roommate Adam, where we were a package deal. So we went and lived and played professionally in Denmark, in Copenhagen, and then that ended. I got cut. I was a Danish player of the week. We were on Christmas break. I got cut, and they're like, "All right, don't worry about it. We're going to send all your stuff." And it was just kind of like the reality of European basketball is like there's a lot. It's a roller coaster ride for a lot of guys. It's not like the NBA by any means. So here I am, like kind of in this turbulent situation. I just gotten cut. After being, like I said, I just had my best week of like my life in my basketball career. And, they're shipping all my stuff. And I had to decide what I wanted to do. And it was, do I want to go home to Seattle where my parents were? Do I want to go to New York where I had a bunch of buddies? And then there was this girl that I just started dating, who is now my wife. She was going to law school at Villanova, which is outside of Philly.
Yeah, buddy.
And so made the decision, hey, let's try out this relationship in Philadelphia, where I didn't know anybody really. I knew maybe a couple of people. And luckily that was a great decision because, now we're married 8 years, a couple of beautiful kids. So that's how I ended up here. I'm happy to be here.
Well, and okay, so how did you transition from basketball to business?
The reason I think I liked real estate, and especially residential real estate, is that it's very simple. You provide a good place, a nice place for people to live that's safe, and they will pay you and they will want to stay there. So I was always drawn to residential real estate. My first job was with a home builder from Cornell Homes. You can imagine how I got that job. So it was just something that it was very simple to me. And it's something that I knew that, hey, I knew I had the work ethic, coming from being an athlete, collegiate athlete, your will is tested a lot. And so I knew I had the work ethic and realized, hey, if I just work hard at something that's simple, I know I'm going to be successful. So it was something easy for me to apply skills to.
Yeah, and then, I actually feel the same way. Real estate's the simplest business model. It's fixed income. It's fixed revenue, fixed expenses. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure it out. And then you got to get your little piece of it. I love that.
Yeah.
But what did that turn into? Like you bought if the story was just I bought a couple of rentals, you probably wouldn't be here. So like, what did that become?
Yeah. So I worked for this home builder for 2 years in kind of a do everything type of role. It was a kind of a startup. I wouldn't say so because he was the largest private builder in the region. And he was just this incredible entrepreneur. I still talk to him today. But he sold to a public builder and they put me in this kind of small accountant box, which I didn't really like. So then I left and I worked with another regional developer in a acquisitions role. So we were looking for sites to build multifamily and senior housing. And my job was to locate the sites, get them rezoned and getting them, either sell the projects or build the projects, kind of pass them off after acquisitions. And I was totally underqualified for that position. And, when they hired me, they're like, Aaron, once you work for us for two or 3 years, you're going to realize you can do this on your own and you're going to want to leave. And that's pretty much exactly what happened because I gained the skills. I kind of started understanding what a deal was. I started understanding how do I add value. And at that point, it was adding value through entitlements, through getting things rezoned or subdivided. So my first deal on my own was a 9-unit subdivision in South Philly that a friend of mine told me about it. There's a bunch of garbage in the lot. It was a 6th and more in South Philly. And I found the owner. It was this cabinet manufacturer up in Brooklyn or in New York somewhere. I drove up there, got him to sign some sort of, agreement of sales, like 3 pages long. I gave him like $1,000 deposit, just right. It was just kind of like lucky. And I wouldn't leave with, him not signing that document. And so I got to work and I subdivided the land and I ended up selling it. And so I made my first check, kind of my first, that's a long story short. I could talk about this deal because there were a ton of issues for a long time. And I thought I was going to lose everything. And at this point, right, $25,000 saved up. I put it all into this project, right? I didn't buy it, but I just used my money to get the architecture, the engineering, get all the zoning. And then I essentially flipped the contract to a builder, made some money, and then started parlaying that into flips and then rentals, and then started scaling that up and syndicating some deals to the point where I met my now partner, and he taught me the way of fund formations and starting a real estate fund where we can raise money and go buy, essentially a bunch of assets and use those same terms with those investors and own a lot of great real estate and, hopefully bring a lot of prosperity to us and our investors.
Yeah. Okay. That's not simple though. So what changed? What changed from like, hey, I really like real estate because it's simple. That's why I like real estate. But then, this whole thing is not because it's simple. This is much more complicated. So where'd you get the confidence to go from, hey, this is simple to like, okay, this is very complicated and outside of the box?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still very simple. I think the reason that I went in the fund realm is that it is simpler. Because before I would buy, let's say I had an 8-unit deal that I was syndicating for, which I was doing back in 2019. I would structure the deal and I'd have different splits with investors and all this. And then I'd do another deal, 2 months later, and there'd be different splits. And so I'd have all these different entities with all these different profit splits, with all these different types of like returns for my investors. And so what the fund does is it just standardizes it, where we have one entity that's going out and buying, these properties essentially with, it's essentially the one fund entity owns these other entities that are buying it. But we know what we're getting into. And so it just allows the operator, me, to go out and do what I'm good at. And the way that I was able to figure that out was my partner, Greg, because, he was the one that said, hey, I see you're out there buying deals. You should think about a fund. And he was selling me to be his client. He was an attorney. He was a fund formation attorney. And I flipped the script on him and I say, Greg, I love the idea of the fund, but I am not capable of doing this on my own. I need someone with your skill sets to come in and be a partner. And I think we can do this together, but you have to quit your job. And so he took a big risk, quitting his nice, attorney position at a national type law firm. And so, we've been working together. It's actually our 3-year anniversary today. So we raised about $25 million together and put it to work and looking to just continue to grow.
Man, I love that, buddy.
Guy quits his job. Still doesn't sound simple to me, but I hear your point.
It's definitely not that simple. I've raised a lot of money myself, and it is never simple. What are the types of deals that you guys are doing, and are you staying local to Philadelphia and the surrounding area? Are you branching out? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we really have two investment strategies. One of them, which is what we've been doing in our funds, we have two funds around it. It's value add multifamily. It's just we've been able to source these off market deals from typically like generational families, like properties that have passed through families for a long time, and they just haven't really been maintained, or maybe there's some issues. The owners are really hands off, and so those are range between 6 and 117 units. So it's a big range, but we love to come in and fix problems. So we like the hairy deals. We're not guys that come in and just like are banking on rent appreciation. We come in, we fix problems. And then really the strategy is once we fix those problems, rents are going up. We look to recapitalize with the refinance, return money to our investors, and then kind of own that property for another 3-7 years, something like that. So that's one, pretty much Burr strategy on steroids with apartments. And then the other strategy is in private lending. We're a hard money lender as well. We have a fund around that where, we lend money to people who are fixing and flipping houses, or, fixing and renting houses, and they're kind of short-term loans. What's we found and why we like this a lot is that it's an industry that's growing a lot because it's so hard to get a regular bank loan. And so we provide like that speed and flexibility where you can pay a premium. And so we're able to get the same types of returns that people used to get on like multifamily. Like before, if you got like a 15% return in multifamily, you were pretty thrilled. The reality is that us in a first position loan with personal guarantees, with securities, like essentially like the security of a loan, we're getting that. We're getting 15%. So it's really like a great product from a like a risk profile to add that's cash flowing, with a lot more security than, owning, equity in real estate.
Yeah, that's smart. And are you staying local to Philly? Or are you branching out?
Yeah, mostly Philadelphia region. We're looking in suburbs. We really like Delaware County, Montgomery County, and Camden County right now. We definitely own things in Philly. It's hard. Philly's hard. You got to be very hands on. There's a lot of regulations constantly changing, and you got to be a very good operator to do well in Philly.
Fascinating. How's the market changed been for you? I mean, in 2019 and 2020, I feel like multifamily was kind of one way, and then after 2022, it's been a different way since then. How's that experience been for you?
It's been great. And I'm not just saying that. It's because
you're the only one.
I'll tell you why it's been great. So we were smart. We locked in all of our debt. So a lot of the guys that are having trouble, had refinances that took too long or whatever. They got hit with the big interest rate, hikes. Couldn't refinance out, or they had whatever rate cap expires and stuff like that. So we fixed all of our debt. We don't really have any loans under 5.5%, something like that. So, and why it's been great is it helped us buy our biggest deal, which was a deal that was purchased by somebody in 2022, kind of at the peak. And they operated it really poorly, violated some loan covenants because now banks are really worried about this stuff. And we were able to buy it at about a 35% discount within like 15 months. So that allowed us to come in and get creative and get access to deals that we probably couldn't have got or competed with in the past. So, and that's kind of where our runway is kind of moving forward, is more of these deals where people bought them in 2021, 2022, didn't operate them well. We're the guys that can solve the problems. So now banks want to work with us too, and we can come in. So we're hoping to buy some other, some more great assets here in the next 6 months.
I love it. If it's okay with you, Alex, can we pivot a little bit where, Aaron, I love, one of the big things that you were talking about is being a husband and a dad, and, adventure surrounding you and your family's life. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think without family, it's what does it really matter, right? I think I'm a big believer in that. Like we're working hard for what? So I'm so lucky to have great, beautiful wife that supports me. I support her. We have a great relationship. Coming home with spending time with my two daughters is unreal, and I'm really just embracing the fact that they're 4 and 2. And so I'm just embracing that because I hear from all these other girl dads that are like, hey, this is the golden time. So, don't waste it. So it's just really important to me that that's a priority in my life. And I think everybody knows that, which is great. It's not that I won't, work hard, right? It's just that, hey, I need to make sure I have my time where I'm building these great relations with my family. And two, I think on the adventure side of things, like, I think that to be challenged in the work environment is important, but also on the personal side of things. What are you doing? What kind of challenges are you setting? Like the massages, things like that are going to push your body, that are going to push your mind. Where, before, right, people were adventuring across the ocean and, forests and things like that. It's a little bit more difficult for us to find that nowadays. But I think kind of embracing that mindset and trying to try different things and get you out of the comfort zone is really, really refreshing. Is really what I need as well.
Yeah.
To be happy.
How many have you done? What's on your bucket list?
What's on my bucket list? Well, one of them is, so I have to tell you, this is like a rule of being a pilot. I have to, within like 10 or 15 minutes of talking, I have to tell everybody that I'm a pilot, as you guys already know. But so now everybody that's listening knows I'm a pilot, and would love to give free plane rides around. So please hit me up about that. But I want to fly across the country.
Before you go into that, So like a week and a half ago, we have a Philly Go Abundance WhatsApp chat, and Aaron writes, "Beautiful day for flying. Who wants to go?" or something like that. And I actually didn't. I knew you were a pilot. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm like, what do you mean? And then I call him, and he's like, "I'll pick you up at Wings Field, which isn't far from my house, at 3:30." And it's just like such a cool thing. Like, whoa. Anyway, proceed.
It's
Sorry, just it's a cool story.
Yeah, it's an awesome hobby. Yeah, the amount of the freedom that it gives you is pretty incredible. And I always joke, like, you watch those end of the world movies, and it's always a pilot that saves somebody, it saves a family, gets them out of the zombie invasion or whatever, the earthquakes. There's always a pilot involved that gets you somewhere where you need to go. And then usually the pilot, saves the people and then, dies in something, saving more people or something like that. Hopefully that's not the case for me, but I've always loved the freedom of being able to be up in the sky. And it's such a unique feeling being in, control, at 7,000 feet looking down. I get inspired by it. I see like opportunity everywhere. It sounds super corny, but like, it's really cool to see, our cities and suburbs from the sky. And I love that, especially playing around with other pilots that you see them and you're talking to the controllers, you're talking to other pilots. It's a really cool experience that I'm addicted to. But to that point, like, I really want to fly across the country. So I have a little single engine 4-seater airplane. It goes about 150 miles an hour. I would love to fly it across the country and fly low, like not like you would on a commercial airliner at, whatever, 10, 20, 30,000 feet. I want to be at like 2,500 feet. I want to stop at little airports. I want to hang out, in Nebraska or in New Mexico and talk to the local pilots and just kind of just have fun that way. So that's on there. And then another big one, which is a little bit, adventure. I guess it's definitely adventure related, but you guys might have seen, but the first civilian went on a spacewalk recently. Of course, he was a billionaire, but he went up with SpaceX and did a spacewalk. So I'd love to have some sort of outer space experience. And in the meantime, I just really want to have a Northern Lights or just a really significant star experience with my kids, my family. As a kid, I love looking up at the stars with my parents, and I want to have that same experience where, I'm just with my daughters, my wife, like looking up and just seeing like just the stars and just kind of getting lost in that. That's really just like from almost like an overwhelming standpoint with like the Northern Lights, something like that.
Hi, this is Melanie McCallan. Josh and I are just so grateful for the many investors who have already joined us at Accountable Equity. Accountable Equity is so much more than a capital group. It's really a community of accredited investors that want to learn and grow together. I just want to personally invite you, if you want to find out more about this type of investment and see if it's right for you and your family, please visit us at accountableequity.com.
Hey, it's Hal Elrod, author of The Miracle Morning, and you're listening to Capital Hacking. Enjoy.
My number one bucket list for the last 20 years has been go to space. That's like my number one thing that I want to do before I die is go to space.
It's getting close, man.
I know. I'm watching it. I'm watching it so close. I think for like 150 grand, you can do Blue Origin, low Earth, or not Blue Origin, Virgin Galactic. You can do non-orbit. Doesn't count, but it's getting close.
Yeah. You need to have that. You need to go on that spacewalk. You got to have that full suit and just that. You got to have that like little bit of terror included in it, I think.
So, Aaron, I will say the Northern Lights is amazing. Actually, a few years ago, I got to take my wife and my 3 kids to Iceland. Actually, we left on, I want to say my oldest, it was maybe his 15th birthday. He's about to turn 21 or maybe 16. And we left on October 10th and we got there. And at first, it was just too cloudy the first few nights. And then we rented an Airbnb on a huge farm, actually. And then that night, it was like we could see the north. It was, and they're called the dancing lights there because they're not. They change like every couple minutes. They're moving around in different formations. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. There's something too about it, just like connecting with the universe in that sense, and just from my standpoint, a lot of my problems get real small after I've spent some time under the stars. And so I love just being able to share that with my kids and look at shooting stars and stuff like that.
Yeah. What other adventures are you thinking about?
The other one on my list, I'd like to go to Everest Base Camp. I grew up reading all those mountain climbing books and just was just always blown away by it. I'd love to go to the Himalayas, spend time there, trek to base camp. I don't think I really have any desire to go all the way up, but so that's what I keep telling my wife too. So we'll keep that answer. But being in the mountains, same vibe. Just that there's something about nature and being with people that want to challenge themselves and go up to be really special.
Were you in Vermont when Colin O'Brady was talking about he broke the world record for being the fastest guy up Everest, and he's been up and down Everest a bunch. But were you there when he was talking about his last trip to Everest?
No, I believe a little early. Yeah.
It's too bad. He told this pretty intense story where he fell into this crevasse and it was like hundreds of feet and he was dangling because his sled was literally holding him above that. And that sounded horrible. He's like, I think that's my last trip to Everest, but he's done it a bunch and it sounded scary.
Yeah, it's definitely, it sounds so scary. A lot of times too, it's like the most dangerous part isn't getting up there, it's getting down there. And just the lack of oxygen and all that, it's just some crazy stuff can happen.
Yeah, no Everest for me. I am signed up to do Kilimanjaro in February or March. Yeah. I love that. Mountain, space. Yeah, I love all those.
Yeah, and I'll do one more too, just because it's something that's I want to combine in the future, figure out how to implement it. But I've already offered John to be kind of his chauffeur pilot around in GoBundance events. But
I'm in. I say that. Let's go.
Yeah. So, but also essentially being I love the idea of storm chasing in a sense, but in terms of swell and snow. So I'd love to figure ways, hey, how do I fly pilots around, or not pilots, how do I fly surfers around, get them hooked up in the right, when there's a great swell coming for waves, and then just hang out with them and go surfing. And then same thing, hey, how do we go, hey, there's a big snowstorm coming to Utah, let's get out there, let's get in the plane, let's load it up, let's go. And kind of figure out a community of like-minded individuals that love to chase that kind of stuff. And hopefully I can be a facilitator with the flying, because that's what I love to do too.
That's cool. I've been in Nazaré in Portugal, the 100-foot waves, and I haven't seen that because that's only a couple times during the year. But even on a regular day, they're pretty big swells.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Aaron, do you surf?
Poorly, very poorly.
Yeah, I don't know how.
Growing up in I grew up in Seattle, so we'd go to Hawaii, a fair amount, because that was kind of our Florida, in a sense. And so a little bit of surfing out there. I'm a longboarder. That's about it.
I lived in Hawaii for a bit, and I tried to surf because I'm like, we're here, we might as well try this thing. And I found out real quick that I am not built for that. They're like, after failing miserably a couple of times, they're like, Alex, you need to work with the ocean. You need to stop fighting the ocean. And I was like, oh, you lost me. All I want to do is fight. I don't want to work with anything.
Well, as we start winding down here, Aaron, one of the things that I know you're so big about is family. Can you talk a little bit about some of the rhythms that you have in place where you're connecting with your wife and you're connecting with your kids? Some of the habits that you have.
Yeah, definitely. Such a great question. And we're figuring out better ones as we go. But, what's been really helpful for my wife and I the last few months has been a shared calendar that we really focus on together. We talk Sunday nights. Hey, what do you got going on this week? It's make sure everything's in the calendar. Hey, do we need, is someone staying at work late? Is someone not? We also talk, hey, when can we get a date night on the books? We try to do it every 2 weeks. Usually pretty good about that. Even date lunches are good. Just get together, just the two of you. That's been really good for us. And then the kids, yeah, I think, just being there, typically between 5:30, 6 and bedtime, just trying to be all there. We definitely catch ourselves on our phones and stuff, and just being real, prudent and just, hey, this is my time with the kids. Is once they go to bed, I'll plug back in if I want to. But most of the time I'm probably falling asleep in my daughter's bed too. So that doesn't work out, but it's okay. It's being real cognizant of like the time that we have with the kids is not infinite, because they're growing up and learning so much every day. And then too, one of the other things that I did with my wife that I love that we're going to try to revisit is we did this bucket list thing by age bracket. So it was a really fun exercise for us to do together. Between the ages of 35 and 40, we want to do these things. And so I have it on my wall over here. So I look at it all the time. Between 40 and 50, we want to do these things. Between 50 and 60, because I think as we talk about bucket list and adventure, there's a time for all that. If I don't go to Everest in the next 5 or 10 years, the base camp, I'm probably going to be too old. It's going to be harder for me to do it, when I'm in my 50s or 60s, right? So I got to make sure that bucket list type of trip gets accomplished earlier on. And so there's other things that, hey, when I'm in my 60s and 70s, I want to own a winery. Like, I don't need to own a winery in my 30s. I'd rather be doing some more fun, active stuff. So that was a really fun exercise for us. And I think like as men, and as we go in these Go Abundance trips, we come back all inspired and be like, hey, I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this. It's really easy to just project that on your wife. And I think where the guys who have the best relationships are the guys who will create a space where you can communicate together and say, hey, this is what is going to light me up. These are things that I really want to do, but I really want to hear what's going to light you up. And because a lot of people don't know that. They don't know what's going to light up the other person. And so I think if you can create that relationship with your spouse where you know what they want and, and they know what you want, it's just going to be so much better.
Dude, that was worth its weight in gold, man. Honestly, I'm so appreciative that you shared that. Bucket list based on age. I've actually never thought of that.
Yeah, can you share that with us somehow?
Yeah, I got it from a book. I can't remember what book I got it from. I don't want to say it might have been Die with Zero, maybe.
No.
But it was a great exercise, and it's pretty simple. It's just, write down, essentially go with your spouse, write down everything that you guys want to do. It's on your bucket list, and then just make like 4 or 5 columns with different age brackets and write them in. And, mine looks like, mine's handwritten, it looks like this. It's not fancy, so don't overthink it, but, talk about the star experience. I want to take my kids to Romania. I want to buy a vacation house. I want my kids to learn how to ski. So a lot of stuff like that is on there, like my 35 to 40s.
That's great.
And then, like I said, own a winery between 60 and 70. So stuff like that.
No, that's awesome. We've had Travis on the show before, the bucket list guy, but he actually has a book called the Bucket List Blueprint. That's pretty good that I've read and would recommend. But that's a great concept. Aaron, how can our listeners connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of different ways. One, I'd love to take anybody for a flight, and so you can reach out to me on Instagram on Aerodynamic, ARO_dynamic, on LinkedIn, Aaron Osgood. That's a great way. Kind of posting a good amount of business and personal things on LinkedIn as well. My company is Atlas Real Estate Partners, ATLIS. There's a million Atlas spelled the correct ways. And so we're obviously misspelled on purpose because, when we got huge, we don't want to be sued by anybody. So check us out online. And looking forward to connecting more with you guys and any of the listeners too.
Super exciting, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Come pick me up in Austin in your plane. How far away is that?
I would love. It's going to take me a while to get there, but it's definitely possible.
I don't mind.
Cheers.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Damn straight. We just got
buddy.
We got to the end of another great show. And everyone listening right now, you're the family and friends. Thanks for staying till the end.
That was so fun. And hey, hit the like, hit subscribe. We're here to serve you guys. That's why we're doing this show. Josh is not paying me. I'm doing this off of my quote unquote sweat equity because we want to make a difference in your life. And then that ripple effect will continue to touch the world.
Hey, amen, brother. Please check us out on capitalhacking.com, all the social media threads. And yes, I know you've probably already sent this episode to one of your best friends. Thank you. We love you. Just go right into your iPhone, hit the plus symbol. We'll talk to you later. See you next week.
Share.